Welcome back once more. This is Inside Politics here on KTN News. Now, the Registrar of Political Parties, Nderitu, has declined to gazette the change of officials of the Jubilee Party's all-important National Management Committee. This is after receiving 350 written objections from members. The Registrar has asked Jubilee Party Secretary General Raphael Tuju to comply with the Political Parties Act and resolve the current dispute using internal party mechanisms and appraise her office of the resolutions. The ruling party's Deputy Secretary General Caleb Kositan has threatened to institute legal action against his boss, as well as Jubilee Party Chairman Nelson Zuya, for allegedly using fake minutes to stage a leadership coup in the party. KTN senior political reporter Patrick Amimo with the lowdown.
It is back to the drawing board. The Registrar of Political Parties, Nderitu, has invoked Section 40 of the Political Parties Act 2011 and asked the Jubilee Party to exhaust its internal dispute resolution mechanism to fix the standoff concerning the intended changes to the National Management Committee of the party.
It's a great day for me and for the rule of law. It's a great day for our multi-party democracy. Let this be a lesson, not just for Jubilee, but for all other parties. We do not have Political Parties Act in vain.
It has been a few days of confusion, a few days where we have had to really fight to make sure that the rule of law is what stands at the end of the day.
We are going to institute a serious legal action against Tuju and the chairman for having signed fake minutes.
Members allied to the Deputy President William Ruto, who had questioned the law and procedure used to institute the changes, want Jubilee Party leader Uhuru Kenyatta to convene a National Executive Committee meeting to resolve wrangles in the party.
Expect them within the next 7 days that they will be able to convene a meeting by Zoom, as they have been asked by the registrar.
The whip of the Senate and the whip of the National Assembly are the conveners of the PG. So immediately after the COVID-19 is over, we are not going to wait for any other authority. We are going to ask our specific whips to convene a PG meeting so that once we have minutes of the PG meeting, then we will ask that the NEC be convened and we proceed.
Should the party fail to reach consensus, the Political Parties Act provides for the matter to be referred to the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal for hearing and determination. In a statement to newsrooms this week, Tuju said the changes to the National Management Committee were agreed during a meeting held on February 10, 2020, and were only filed last month to comply with the March 31st deadline, where parties are required by law to file returns in terms of changes of office bearers and signatories to their accounts.
The minutes that they have are cooked minutes because no meeting took place.
The ball is now in the court of President Uhuru Kenyatta to put his house in order. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
Thank you, Patrick. Bwana Wakili, let me come to you. We've not had your opinion on this. What is your take on what's happening? There are so many balls up in the air. Some people saying that what has been happening is legal. Those allied to the Deputy President claiming that this is a political mutiny that is currently ongoing. And now the Registrar of Political Parties has thrown the ball back in the court of the party. What do you think is happening here?
What is happening now is that people are getting the final nails on Jubilee's coffin. Jubilee is on its deathbed, and Uhuru Kenyatta faction is trying to either kill the party or force William Ruto to leave the party. When you look at the Jubilee constitution, it is couched in vagueness. It is couched in ambiguity. Ambiguity to the extent that it gives the party leader very many powers without giving the deputy party leader, the deputy president, any power. In fact, the party leader has about 13 functions, and the paragraph outlining the functions of the deputy party leader states that the deputy party leader shall deputize the party leader and do any other function as assigned by the party leader, meaning the deputy president in his capacity as the deputy party leader of Jubilee is very ineffective under the Jubilee Constitution. What Tuju did was right according to the Constitution, because when you look at the Jubilee Constitution and specifically Article 9, Paragraph 3, it says that the party leader shall issue directives that are aimed at promoting the interests of the party. And Tuju has told us that he was working on instructions. They had a meeting As to whether that meeting was attended by Uhuru Kenyatta, Murathe, and 2 others, we are not aware. But Tuju was acting at the behest of the party leader. But interesting enough, the route of action has kept Uhuru Kenyatta out of this war. And their target is the vice chair, who is Murathe, and the SG, who is Tuju. When you take Tuju to court and you take Murathe to court, as they are saying, you are taking the party leader to court because ultimately he is the person who made the decision.
All right. And it seems, Dismas, that they may have a point because the Registrar of Political Parties acting under Itu has halted, you know, the gazettement of those names. Now, what gives now? Because we, like Wakili says, the party leader has a lot of powers as opposed to the deputy party leader. So what happens now? Does it mean that the William Ruto faction is out of the woods?
Well, there are 2 ways to look at it.
Because they are claiming that some minutes were doctored. That's a big accusation.
Well, the 2 ways to look at it. If you look at it from a purely legal perspective, and the lawyer has indicated as much, everything stands in favor of the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto. There's been a breach of protocol, there's been a breach of regulations, and that's why the Registrar of Political Parties said, go back and clean your house. So on that aspect, Ruto has won. And as a nation, we are trying to come up with very strong, solid political parties. And we must congratulate the Registrar of Political Parties, who understand, despite immense pressure, decided to respect the rule of law and order, decided to respect the Constitution, and told the party to go back and sort out their messes. But if you go back to the beginning, Jubilee was brought together by President Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto. That was TNA and URP. They're the only 2 shareholders of this political party. So they went into a political marriage, and then they came up with Jubilee. Now, if these 2 shareholders, in their view, they establish that this political party is not going to survive, then maybe the most important thing they can do again is to go and get divorce papers and say it was nice doing business. But as we sit right now, everything from a legal perspective, it works in favor of the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto. But when you look at the political realities of this, Jubilee as a political party is long dead, because there is no way you'll have the party leader taking decisions with or without the concurrence of the deputy party leader, and it is affected. There is no way Tuju will move on his own motion, or Murathe, or indeed any other party official, without consulting the party leader. So whatever is happening within Jubilee, and even for a naive person, the party is going to be killed before 2022. So what is happening right now, people are going through, you know, the rites of passage. People are getting tough lawyers to go to the divorce court so that they can decide how to allocate the assets at the end of it all. And the deputy president will be well advised that if he's keen on 2022, to come up with a new political party, a special purpose vehicle which is going to use for 2022. And it will serve his interest, because when we look at the scoreboard in 2022 and look at what Jubilee has done for the last 10 years, I doubt whether, as a very clever politician, he would want to be associated with that brand. And in my view, whatever Tuju and Murathe are doing is a blessing in disguise. He's got a very good reason to say, now that you're complicating my life within Jubilee, let me do a runner, let me go and create another political party. And then now in 2022, we can place him at par with other politicians and find out who among the people who presented themselves has got a track record of success. But obviously, the entire Jubilee successes and failures are more than successes, all of them will haunt Ruto for a long time.
All right, I want us to talk about the number of ways this cookie can crumble, and the best ways, politically speaking, for the DP, because he's the one who will be running for office in the next 3 years or so, in the next 2 years, rather. Mark Bichachi, did the Kieleweke team overestimate their powers and abilities?
Well, I think the Kieleweke side decided to follow the party constitution. and to follow the status quo of the political party, because even when the Deputy Secretary General complains, saying that the move was unprocedural, he must also be asked how then did he get his position. The truth of the matter is Jubilee is an interim party with interim officials, and therefore a lot of how decisions have been made in the past is exactly how this decision was made. In fact, if you remember the kerfuffle that was there concerning the nomination of Mariga, then you would know that these issues of which side of Jubilee is making decisions have been there for quite a while. Now, the truth is also that when what the judge has ruled, not the judge, the registrar has ruled based on the act, the Political Parties Act, which then defines how such matters should be handled, which is to refer them back for the party to solve its internal wrangles. Because as far as the registrar of political parties is concerned, when they receive a document signed by the relevant officials instructing that the party has made a certain decisions, then she's bound to effect those decisions unless there's complaints, as we've seen. Now, the question really has to be whether the people who've refused the choice of Tuju and the chairman can then stand up before President Uhuru Kenyatta and state that they disagree with him. Jubilee, as we know it, is dead. That is true. But how many of them dare step out of line with Uhuru Kenyatta? And how many of them would dare lose their positions because of this particular disagreement? And my crystal ball tells me that Jubilee will die in reality before it ever dies on paper. None of those people, even if they're mistreated how within Jubilee, would ever set.
All right, we'll get back to Mark's thoughts, but Wakili, let me get back to you. Let's take a look at the political permutations now for Deputy President William Ruto, who has expressed his ambition to run for the highest office in this land. Which is the best scenario for Jubilee to end? Is it him leaving? Is it him being kicked out?
I think William Ruto should understand by now that he is an unwelcome guest within the Jubilee Party. And whatever that is happening in Jubilee is to his disadvantage, whether he succeeds or he fails in taking over the party. What I understand the Kieleweke team to be doing is that they are keeping him busy. And indeed, they have succeeded. You even heard the papers indicate that William Ruto will be working from Pangani. At least they have cut one day out of his week to move around the country in harambes and funerals. So once they get him busy, then they are getting more time to go and strategize against him. You can be sure, Ben and Kenyans, that the Kieleweke team will not have Jubilee as their party of choice in dislodging William Ruto out of power or out of political equation in 2022. Raila Odinga, Francis Atwoli, Eugene Wamalwa, Mudavadi, Kalonzo, they are working on a machine that will come in 2021 or 2022 to take on William Ruto. Whereas William Ruto is trying to keep himself within Jubilee and fighting the Jubilee wars, not knowing that these are derailing tactics that are meant not to help him achieve his goals. And secondly, William Ruto should not leave. If he leaves now, he is going to lose his position as deputy president. Remember, he is a political party member like any other Kenyan. Right. And if he goes, he can be impeached from within Parliament, and Parliament will say our deputy president has left the party, and so forth.
Will he be wanting or thinking about forming another political vehicle in the run-up to 2022?
William Ruto has other political parties, not even a political party. He is spoiled for choice. His allies have been forming parties day in, day out. So it is just a matter of getting out of Jubilee at the right time, going and rebranding one of the parties, and then taking it on as his presidential candidate.
What is your crystal ball telling you, Dismas, concerning Jubilee? Are we likely to see, because in 2022, if the DP is not using Jubilee as his ticket, and the president is not obviously as one is 2 terms, are we seeing a scenario where Jubilee Party, the biggest party in this country right now, just dying out like PNU did in 2007?
Well, as we approach the elections for 2022, Jubilee is going to collapse dead. And for the deputy president, his best advice today is to wait to be kicked out so that he can become emotional and he goes back to the marketplace and say that I was loyal to the party leader, I was loyal to the party, but these people that he refers to as cartels kicked him out. If he decides to live on his own motion, then he becomes very weak politically. So in my view, I think what he needs to do is just wait for these axes that he refers to as cartels to kick him out while he's putting together his machine. And you realize that because I understand he's got a lot of resources and goodwill across the nation, for him to come up with a political party that he can use for 2022 will not be a difficult thing to do. It will be a walk in the park. And there is no way you can ascend to the presidency of the Republic of Kenya if you do not control the political party A to Z. If you're going to run as a presidential candidate at a political party that you don't control, so you're going to be at the pleasure of the real political party owners. So for him to be a success, he must own the political party that he's going to run with. But even as he attempts to do that, he must know that he's going to run with all the liabilities of Jubilee, because people will ask him that you've been accusing Raila Odinga of moving from one political party to another. This is the same situation obtaining. But when you are in Jubilee, let's look at the scoreboard. What were your successes? What were your failures? And when you do a critical analysis, the failures are much more than the successes.
All right. Mark, let me come to you. I covered the presidential nominations of the CCM party in Tanzania in 2015, and they have a very rigorous, well-instituted way of doing things. I mean, like all proper political parties do. Jubilee Party is the biggest party in this country. The fact that they are unable to just find internal mechanisms to deal with just a normal situation, the fact that somebody is claiming that minutes were cooked, is this what is wrong with our political party system? And is there any end in sight to this?
Well, part of what is wrong with the political party system is we have lied to each other since 2002. Every coalition, every agreement that we've made has fallen apart. Now, Ben, I'm glad to hear that you were in Tanzania in for that particular nomination, because I've worked in Tanzania and my candidate lost to John Pombe Magufuli. That said, you are quite correct. CCM has structures, it has laws, and it has traditions that it has followed successfully to deliver results. In Kenya, we do not have a political party that has any institutional memory whatsoever, including KANU itself, because KANU, as we know it, fell apart and is now trying to be restructured. So the institutions that we call political parties do not have any weight and any clout. And therefore, I want to agree with Dismas that for William Ruto, he is looking for a way out of Jubilee, and his only way out of Jubilee is to be kicked out so that he can win the sympathy of the people, because he's quite aware that if he continues within Jubilee, then he has to answer for both the good and the bad of Jubilee. And I keep telling people that the legacy of Uhuru Kenyatta is the campaign platform for William Ruto come 2022. He cannot run away from it unless he shows that he has been badly discriminated, treated badly, has no powers whatsoever. So that his excuse is that in 2022, I had no opportunity to do the things that I'm promising you now, and the promises I'm giving you now, I can deliver. So definitely, people will pull a runner from Jubilee. As I said before, it is already dead. And if someone tells you it's the kicks, these are the kicks of a dying horse, no, it's quite wrong. These are the maggots moving within the dead horse already. Those are the only movements that you can see. But how to exit and how to strategically place that exit is what they're looking for. And the unfortunate reality is the Kenyan people will lose, because they will not have a political party in 2022 that has continuity, it has history, it has institutional memory to be able to carry its ideas and its agenda forward.
Ken, talk to us about your thoughts on the political party system in Kenya vis-a-vis what's happening in Jubilee right now. What we are discussing right now basically is just bad manners by political parties. Are we ever going to see an end to these bad manners?
Not in the foreseeable future. The political parties in Kenya revolve around personalities. In essence, it should revolve around ideologies. But in Kenya, it is the personality who is identified with the party. What is ODM, for example? ODM is Raila Odinga. If Raila got up today and said the name of this party is PDP, all the followers will now begin worshipping PDP. What is Jubilee? Jubilee is just half William Ruto, half Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is why it is their close allies who are fighting and bringing in the two leaders. And therefore, the Kenyan political system is rotten. It is rotten in the sense that it is not couched in any ideology. It is not couched in any foreseeable manifesto that can run through decades. What we are saying is that individuals come up with parties for convenience. Jubilee Party was convenient for 2017. Remember in 2013, it was TNA and URP. Remember in 2007, it was PNU and ODM. So in 2022, William Ruto will have a party of convenience, and his opponents too will have parties of convenience. We forget about continuity. If KANU, with the longest history, has not been able to be consistent throughout the 40 to 50 years of existence, what about Jubilee?
What does that say about our democracy? Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
It's a bad thing for a democracy. It's a bad thing for a democracy. Because when parties are messed up, a democracy is messed up. Most of our elected leaders run on parties. And when parties are run like chiefdoms, are run like family properties, we cannot get the best candidates contesting on that party. And some of these parties are bigger than individuals in some regions. You get a party ticket, you get to parliament, you become governor, you become senator. And if we kill political parties, we are indeed killing democracy in this country.
This must have the final say on this.
To Raila Odinga, I mean, in as much as there's a thin line between Raila Odinga and ODM, ODM behaves like a political party in Kenya. It's got networks, at least people are called to come and sit in a round table and take a decision. Never mind that the decision probably has been taken before the meeting, but there's a semblance of a political party by the name ODM. You know, they've had a number of challenges. Maybe they're having elections and you see men in black. But I think as a political party, ODM has survived. And then we've got another group of political parties that may not be very strong, but they are led by pleasant personalities. That's why you find Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula and Kalonzo. But now what we must encourage them is to make sure that these political parties are run on ideologies, so that the party does not move at the pleasure of the party leader. Like, for instance, right now, depending on who you speak with, Mark Bichache says that Jubilee is in maggots, and Ken says that it's about to collapse. But it's about to collapse because the two people who entered into that political marriage, all of a sudden have discovered that they're bad company to each other.
What you're describing, who is responsible for setting that standard? Is it the political party players, the politicians, or is it the people, the electorate, the party members, who are supposed to set the example of what they expect from the party?
Well, the person who has the overall responsibility is the political party leader. Because you see, when you're forming a political party, it takes one individual who is able to mobilize his community and with a good bank balance to put together the structures. So if the party leader is not interested in a very solid party, then it will not create structures. Because at the end of the day, if you create very strong structures as a political party leader, then these structures can actually kick you out. So it's in the interest to have very amorphous positions, so that if anybody is engaging in mischief, at the flick of his hand, they can kick you out. But on this one, let's ask Kenyans, the political party leaders, that please form political parties and form structures which will outlive you. That's the only way we'll have very strong democracy.
In your opinion, if in the United States, for example, a mature democracy, by all definitions, if you ask Democrats why they support a certain policy, whether it's education or health or national security, it will be very consistent to the ideologies of Democrats, Republicans as well. Why is it that Kenyans do not have those standards?
Well, it's because for us, even when you're going to vote, we do not care about somebody's position, say, on agriculture or taxation. We just fall in love with our community leaders. And because now we've become really a tribal nation. So the person with the resources to mop up the entire community and beat them into one straight path is the one who wins. And if you disobey that person, then you get into trouble. But today you would be in the US, maybe you're a Republican or you are a Democrat, and you can have divergent views with the party leader, and you'll still make progress. Like, for instance, Mitt Romney in the US, he doesn't read from the same hymn book with Trump, but he's in a good place. But unfortunately in Kenya, our tribal lords are the ones with the big resources. They form a political party. For instance, if you come from parts of Luo Nyanza, if you don't have an emotional connection to Raila Odinga, you're not going to win any political seats. Right. And we've got two good examples. When James Orengo took a divergent view, he got into trouble when he was in SDP, and also James Anyang' Nyong'o. Then they discovered, Peter Anyang' Nyong'o. Then they discovered that if you want to win any elective position, you have to go and kiss the king's ring. And from the time they kissed the Raila's ring, they've been winning elections as if it's a walk in the park. Even during the last election, we are told James Orengo did not even campaign.
All right. All right. What's happening in the ruling Jubilee Party, the leadership row, is the latest case or indictment of the political party system in Kenya. What do you think of what's happening? Let's take a quick commercial break here on Inside Politics. When we come back, we shall be wrapping the show up. We will be expecting to hear from you. Give us a call with your comments, questions, contribution to what's happening in this country vis-a-vis COVID-19. Tell us what you think about what's happening in China. Tell us why do you think Kenyans have been engaging in reckless behavior? And what do you think about what's happening in